Hi everyone, my name is Connor, and today I'm going to go over the build process of my workbench. So this video is interesting for a few reasons. I've never really built a workbench before. I'm trying to get footage while I figure everything out. And I live in a small Manhattan apartment and have limited tools and workspace, so there are a few complications that come with that. I'll start by talking about some of the nuances of working in a city. Now, these aren't just limited to New York, but there are things to be mindful of, especially if you find yourself in a similar situation. The first thing you really want to think about is transportation, how you're going to get your materials back to your workplace. Now, if you have a car or a truck, this is generally pretty easy. However, if like me, you don't have a vehicle or even a driver's license, this can be a little more challenging. If your materials aren't too heavy or unwieldy, you have the most options open to you. If you live close enough, you can walk or have a friend help you carry stuff back to your place. If you live a little further, you can bike or take public transportation. However, if you're trying to carry 8 pieces of wood that are each 8 feet tall and weigh around 60 pounds, your options are a little more limited. Now, I quickly found out that most of the delivery services offered by lumber companies aren't for your average consumers unless you want to double the cost of your build. Another option you have are car service companies like taxis, Lyft, or Uber. I can't say that every driver will be thrilled to have you try and fit a couple 2x4s in his vehicle, but it certainly doesn't hurt to ask, and is actually how I ended up getting my wood home. So the next thing I want to talk about is cost. For this build, I bought 6 2x4s and 2 2x6s. And the total for the materials, along with a box of number 10 screws, was around $65 after tax. The Uber XL that I had to take was another $33, so we're looking around $98 total for the materials and transportation. So from a cost perspective, it's certainly comparable, if not cheaper, to buy and build your own desk. The advantages being, of course, that you can decide the exact specifications if you're unable to find something that suits your needs. So the last thing I want to talk about before I get into the details of the build process are the tools that I used, just to give you an idea of what it might take to pursue a project like this on your own. I think the most important tool in a project like this is having a circular saw, because if you're working with raw materials, you'll need something to cut them down to spec. And while some lumber stores may offer cutting services, that can quickly add to the cost of your build. Not to mention that some of the cuts they make might not be as precise as you would like, and if you get home and realize that some of the cuts weren't what you needed, well, then you could be out of luck. So I really think it's worth the investment. While you might be able to get away with a handsaw on smaller projects, if you're really trying to get things done as soon as possible and have clean cuts, a circular saw and a speed square really help speed up the process. The other tool that you'll need is a drill. In this video, you'll see me using a drill driver combo, but it really isn't necessary. I find it helpful because I don't constantly have to switch between a drill bit and a driver bit, but depending on your workflow, you may be able to get away with drilling all of your holes first and then switching bits and screwing everything together. I mentioned it earlier, but even if you don't have a circular saw, I would highly recommend getting a speed square. It really helps you improve your accuracy on measurements and alignment, and they're under $10 on Amazon. With that out of the way, we can focus on the build, which really up to this point has just been me cutting down pieces to size. So here you can see me assembling the top portion of the frame, which is ultimately what the work surface and legs will get attached to. So I just carried over the 4 legs, and now I'm using the speed square to measure out 4 screw holes for each leg. I decided to err on the side of caution and use 4 screws instead of 2, which may have been a little bit of overkill, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'd also like to point out that the drill bit I'm using is the DeWalt number 10 countersink bit, which has the appropriate drill length and serrations at the end of the drill bit that countersink your holes as you drill them. So if you pay attention to the video, you can see the drill bit seizes here, and it actually broke, and this was my first time using the bit, which was a little disappointing. There was a steel casing around the drill shaft, which had a hex bit to slot into the drill chuck, and it was just crimped on, so the crimping just came off, and the drill ended up getting stuck. So I had to get a little physical to remove it. I was still able to use it by clamping the chuck down around the circular drill shaft, but it was prone to slipping. DeWalt, if you're watching this, I'd love a replacement or free tools. I forgot to mention this earlier, but clamps are super helpful to have if you're working alone or if you don't have a lot of work surfaces on which you can position your pieces. Here you can see me using the clamps to hold each leg to that top frame we saw earlier, and I'm just drilling pilot holes using the previously drilled holes on each leg just to make sure the screws go in nice and easy. I'm just quickly checking to make sure that the legs are level. Some more that can be said of my apartment floor, but I do my best. So I finally attached all of the legs. Each only has 2 screws in it, and I flipped it over to stand upright just to finish drilling those pilot holes. Just a little easier to work on when it's standing upright versus lying on the floor. With the frame finished, I started measuring out pieces of 1x6, which I'm using as the boarding for the top of the workbench. The 1x6s I'm using here are pine, which is a soft wood, meaning it's more prone to denting and deformation. If I had the budget for it, I would have preferred hardwood, but I knew I was going to be placing mats over the surface to help protect it, so it wasn't as big of a concern. Here I'm just using a little sandpaper to clean up some of the rough edges. I have to say, getting the workbench to this point was already a great success. It was much easier to work on the top of the frame than it was sitting on the floor. Once I had the top pieces cut to size, I started measuring out the drill holes to attach them to the frame. You can see me doing that here. Here's a great example of just how useful a speed square is. You place the lip over any straight edge and you instantly have orthogonal rulings without having to fumble with a ruler. The screw holes I'm placing are as much for aesthetics as they are for functionality. I probably could have gotten away with using fewer screws, as the only force acting on the boards is weight from anything sitting on top of the bench. One thing to note is that the boards weren't planed or otherwise finished, so they did have some curvature in them, which you can see as I drill into them here. So the extra screws just helped ensure that the boards were actually touching the top of the frame and that they wouldn't flex if there was weight on them. Now that the top has been finished, I started working on the lower frame, which will attach the legs and support a shelf, just so I can have a little room for storage. The process here is largely the same, but this frame will sit inside the legs as opposed to wrapping around the outside. Once again, you can see I'm using the speed square to make sure the pieces are correctly aligned in a right angle. It's a little over exaggerated with these jump cuts, but you can really see how much faster it is to switch between the drill and driver combo instead of having to swap bits. Now that the frame for the shelf has been finished, I can start cutting down pieces of boarding to create the surface. I know I mentioned a lot of uses of the speed square without a circular saw, but here you can really see how it's meant to be used, which is as a guide for your cuts to make sure that they're staying at a right angle. With the main shelving pieces cut, I started marking out the screw holes, which will be used to attach the boards to the frame. Here you can see me switching between a tape measure, ruler, and the speed square. The tape measure is nice when you need to mark out a bunch of measurements from a single edge. In this case, I'm using it to measure out holes along the length of the shelf. Once I know the spacing of the holes along the length, I can go back with the speed square and measure inward this time, so I know that I'm drilling directly into the center of the frame. A ruler is useful when your point of reference may not be directly at an edge. It's just easier to make measurements using that than trying to hold a tape measure in place. So we're reaching the end of the build, but you can see what the finished product looks like. Here's some shots of the workbench in its final position. You can see I wanted it to fit exactly between my desk and the radiator. Here's a quick shot of some of the storage space underneath the shelf. You can see how the two are perfectly level, which extends my desk space. I've also added a few screws to mount a power strip on the side for easy access. And that's it. I hope this video showed that you don't need a lot of tools or expertise to build your own workbench or desk. If you want to see a full write-up or more photos or details on the build, please check the link in the description. Otherwise, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thanks.